Welcome back, pals, to another gameplay video. Today we will be seeing for the first time in the channel Fable Haven making a debut. I have been liking Elephant Forest a lot, even as a top contender of the meta, as the community agrees. Either Fable Haven or Elephant are the top contenders for the best deck in the format spot. They are quite hard to deal with in their own interesting ways. So I'm been around with Forest for some weeks, but finally I got myself some aliases that I lacked at the start of the season and started testing this deck. I'm playing versus one of my friends, Yasin, one of the usual guys in the channel, with one of his beloved list of Sanguine Abyss. He's quite a good decklist to check against if your deck is well tuned to handle aggro. He heals a lot too, so for a burn matchup like this one where Fable Haven is able to reach a lot versus some matchups and burn the last few HP off, this may prove a hardship because he is able to heal a lot just with his regular package of Sanguine without any tech choices necessarily. My start is pretty normal, one drop Andromeda because just the damage that she might do is quite high. If I can't combo it, I didn't have any Humpties in hand. Then a second turn just passing and attacking, and a Goblin Princess to get the Actress Feria on hand, on the board. I don't have any Snow Whites. I'm not sure that I want to play them. In my local meta, they are very value oriented plays because you can recruit them even after the Humpty Dumpty kills them if you clear the board. But I like the fact that I can pressure life with more actresses in play if I manage to have a Tin Soldier to set up. I think that it's a value play in the same way that comes later, but is more flexible because I can get my bell ringers against Elephant Forest. So I'm trying it out, just a show off in the deck. The first Alice comes around, gets some value, a second Alice, and another tutor for some value plays. This deck, I have been thinking a lot about how to build it. I have been seeing some results the last weeks of the different Atlantic events, but I kinda just I hate the one-offs for the most part if you can't tutor for them. In this deck I play two of them. In a way, Dark Jan is a fourth Humpty Dumpty, just some extra burn. So it's not really a one-off because it's a tool that serves the same purpose as the trio of Humpty Dumpty. And then I have an Odette to single out, but the Odette is searchable with the 2-cost tutor from Haven, with the aliases you can get her if you see her and the matchup is good and you need the healing. So that one-off I don't mind so much, but I have been seeing some decks that play one-offs that are not searchable and you can tutor for them. So I'm reluctant to play those kind of games. I know that one of the Fable Havens that made a good result recently had a thesis degree, just a 5 cost blow up the board card. So versus Dragon in my meta, it may be good for PTK. Maybe if I play for some rune that plays more minion heavy in the Chimera parts, but I don't like that card in this meta. I don't feel like the damage is preventable. A lot of damage comes in the form of something with either storm or maybe damage from an activated ability that gets value on the board the moment it is placed on it. So the mass removal, I feel, is redundant because this deck is capable of dealing with small things with explosion at the start and then burn them out at the end with some other copies. Or if you need to deal with big things on the board, you can rely on Humpty Dumpty. So that extra copy, I feel like it is the same logic that I use for my Dark Jan, just a redundant extra spell that does the same job, but I don't feel like I need it necessarily. Maybe if Aegis was back in the meta, maybe if Ramp was more prevalent in my meta. It has disappeared for the last weeks. I'm the only one getting the deck around, so not planning around it. But I have teched against Elephant in the form of a 2-off of the 4-cost Banish removal with Quick that heals you for 2. I feel like that card is just key against either that or the Howling Demon in this match that in my meta is quite prevalent. So it's kinda the only card that is not stock that I play. I'm back with 3 amulets of the 1 cost from Umamusume, the one that is on the board right now. I like having that for the second turn of the game if I open with it, because I lack the Snow Whites to play on curve, and it is just sackable for the Dark Pact, or either provide some cards like in this place I'm discarding with Humpty Dumpty, but that body is able to give me some cards after the Humpty has resolved, and it doesn't get that much of a cloggy board in a sense. One space I'm able to play around it. I'm quite unlucky around getting Andromeda to not blow up my own cards, so maybe that's the difference, but I'm liking it as a 3-off at the moment. Here you can see the game has been playing in a very standard way. We were just curving out, dealing with each other's cards efficiently, so I've been able to pressure his life a lot with my early drops, just chipping away 1 damage, 2 damage, and some with the explosion. So right now any burn is critical, but Yasin is playing a lot of healing in this deck. This card, for example, the 5 mana 5/5 that on Last Breath or Last Wish, I'm sorry, is capable of just killing anything on the board and hitting equal to the toughness of the card killed, is very big. So I'm trying just to get my allies on the field and just kill herself with this ward, so he's not able to get any healing. Just dealing the last damage with the explosion, but Yasin reacts with the quick spell that lets him just kill his ward himself, so he secures the 4 HP from killing the allies with the last wards. So this kind of plays will prolong his life for a long time, because without that healing this tutor could be quite lethal just with the board, like 3 damage from the Humpty and 4 damage from the explosion leaves him at 2 HP without this healing. Demonium comes down, which is more extra healing, and a Ringer, so he's kinda forcing my hand at using the explosion at this moment. I need to use it to clear this. I'm not able to present a board that can deal with that without dying on the crackback. So just dealing 3 damage to him, well, just 1 damage kinda, because he heals for 2. He will soon realize that he miscounted, don't worry about it. And presenting my own board is kinda the way I want to play. This is the value that the Goblin Princesses get for you, just the Goblin King as a 6/6 that comes down at a later point, and I don't even work with him if I don't need to, because it's just 6 damage that will come down in some way later on the line if he doesn't have any hard removal. And yes, a lot of factions are able to remove big bodies in efficient ways, but if he kills the Goblin King, he will not be killing maybe Opinion Prince or Alice. It's not that usual that people play a lot of removal for big bodies, and this one comes kinda for free. Here the execution kills it, so maybe the next Alice will be alive for longer, maybe the Tin Soldier will be able to accrue some power on the long term. I want to take this time to talk to you about the community board messages that I have been posting. I know that you guys want some meta reports. I may do them on the long term, maybe at the beginning of each set. I could be talking about my kind of speculation of what will be better, because the Japanese meta develops in a way that is different from the Western meta, and there are not many results really to check. So I know that you can know how many cards or how many archetypes are just winning in raw numbers, but maybe they may not be that refined or that teched, because right now we are playing decks in a very curated form since the start of a format, because we are basing our starting point of the Japanese meta development. But after some weeks we innovate a bit, maybe find any meta contenders that weren't that relevant before. I feel like Fablehaven was a known problem for us since the beginning, so everyone was able to play around it in some way in my local meta. They all know what the deck does, they all know how to deal with it, so they can add any cards to try and play around it. And for the next sets, I feel like it will be kinda similar, just in a way that we know what the basic deck recipe will look like, and we will be able to play around it in some ways with how we build our decks. And these contenders like the Sanguine are things that aren't that prevalent in the Japanese meta maybe, but a dedicated player is able to make a brew that kinda wrecks my local meta. This is the deck we'll check against if we are able to win an event or not. If you lose against this in a consistent way, any aggro matchup will be hard, so you have to be able to deal with it. And in our Western meta, or at least in my LGS, the aggro matchups are very usual. You can see that it is a good starting point for a lot of people. I kinda played a big event recently in my zone with some people from different cities, and a lot of people were playing Hero Sword. That's a very big meta contender that is cheap to get into the game, that the cards are available for they are from a recent set. So I feel like the meta doesn't really translate, as in if everybody was able to get every card, if everybody was able to play the best decks from day one, the meta will develop in a very different way. So I feel like talking about deck results is not that good of an indicator of what it may be theoretically. Maybe you can see that some decks are doing a good performance, but then I don't know, maybe Rune isn't that popular in the last set meta in BP3, but one of my teammates just won the Spanish regionals or the Bushiroad Fest with a rune deck, so you are able to brew around what is available, what people are playing, and when the meta is known in this way, you are able to kinda adapt to it and play some counter meta decks. I'm thinking that I may be able to talk about the upcoming meta soon, talking about what do I expect to be fairly good and some dark horses that I think exist, because, well, when some decks are solved, kinda, you can't add so many cards. Like in this place, I am playing Fable Haven and my tech cards are just 2 slots and maybe changing one card for another. There is a very solved formula in this deck, you can't change that many things. So maybe the decks that are more flexible, like some Abyss lists that play control, are able to adapt to the meta in a way that lets them have the upper hand. And I think that is the most valuable thing in these small metas, that if you're a dedicated player and you select your deck around what you're expecting in a good way, you're able to take advantage of it, because a lot of decks are in the same realm of play. They are not so abysmally different in numbers or in capabilities. I think that's why, for example, Elephant Forest is the preferred tier 1 deck, because it has a very overwhelming perfect draw. Like if they goldfish, they just win the majority of the time. But on the other way, Haven is a very consistent list that makes its plan a lot of the time in the same way and has a lot of redundancy. So pros and cons really, but we have seen how in the Western meta, Elephant is one of our favorite decks because it is able to be more explosive and it wasn't that solved. So I will be getting around to doing that tier list and that prediction of what might be playable, what I might tinker around for a bit, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed the game. It was at a fast pace because it was a very long game, really very grindy. As you can see, the Howling Demons are a pain in the butt for this deck, but finally we managed to push through. So thank you for coming, like, subscribe and comment. Let me know what you guys think, what you guys want, and see you next time.